I didn't think that I would be making this video so soon. I thought that there was a good chance after his extension that Lucho would retire in Cincy, but here we are. After all the off-season drama, this is where it leaves us. It really sucks how Lucho went out though. When him wanting to leave started out as a family issue, I thought that was completely understandable. But once he started saying that it was the Cincinnati front office that was forcing him out, that was really where all the drama started. I still think that we as a fan base should not be angry with Lucho. I mean, the way that he left was not the best. It definitely is going to leave a bad taste in our mouth, with him abruptly saying that he was going to leave right after we lost to NYCFC in the first round. It's just not the best thing to do. But when he said that we needed to build a better team around him and stuff like that, that was true. I mean, we did need to have a better team around him with all the injuries and stuff that went down. Our team in 2024 was nowhere near as good as it was in 2023. So we got Kevin Denke, someone who Lucho should want to play with, a strong center forward who can score goals, and with Lucho's ability to set guys up, that should be exactly what he wants. We also have Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga coming back from injury to help our defense. This team is set up to contend again in 2025. But again, Lucho still wanted out for family reasons, so he wanted to go back home to Argentina. However, that deal fell through. So Lucho then reports to training camp late, and we think that maybe he's going to play. Maybe he's going to stay in Cincinnati. And then recently he was traded to Dallas anyway, as most of you already know. So again, the way that this went down was just flat out bad. A lot of finger pointing and Lucho having beef with Albright and Noonan. I don't want to spend this video talking about that though. So let's step back and take a look at the Lucho Acosta era throughout his time in Cincinnati. He came here after our second wooden spoon and played the year that we finished off our three-peat of last place finishes. This was just a bad team. At that point in time, Cincinnati was seen as a poverty franchise. Sure, we had some success in the USL, but 3 straight years of last place finishes were not helping our image. Even after we signed Brenner for $13 million, even after Lucho, who was named to the best 11 team with DC United just a few years earlier in 2018, we were still pretty bad. Then 2022 happened. Now, this video is not meant to be a look back at FC Cincinnati's rise as a whole. That video is going to be made at a different time, either after we win a championship or this whole core falls apart and we have to rebuild. So that's going to be a different video for a different time. This video, we're really just going to be looking at Lucho. So some of the stuff I'm going to kind of give the broad strokes of, just so that we can stay focused on Lucho and his time in Cincinnati. So after our 3rd straight last place finish, Cincinnati brings in Chris Albright as general manager, and they bring in Pat Noonan to be the manager. And then they bring in some established MLS vets. Nobody crazy, but guys who have been in this league and are solid players. Then Brandon Vasquez, Brenner, and Lucho completely take off. Lucho being the main guy out of our three-headed monster. He sets everyone up, he's the captain, he takes the corners, he takes the free kicks, and most of the penalties. This attack runs through Lucho. And I cannot stress this enough. This was all after 3 straight wooden spoons. Lucho and his new look team take FC Cincinnati to their first playoff appearance in franchise history. And not only do they make the playoffs, they beat Red Bull New York and gave Philly a run for their money in the second round. Even though we lost to Philly, it's clear that Lucho is a special kind of player and Cincinnati is a special kind of team. After 2022, Lucho was named an All-Star and was named to the best 11 team, along with leading MLS in assists with 19. Brenner was gone after this offseason, but Barrial, Badji, and Bupenza all platooned for 5 goals apiece, along with Lucho going absolutely nuclear. 17 goals, 14 assists, All-Star appearance, best 11 selection, and running away with the MVP award. Lucho has been elevated from the face of FC Cincinnati to one of the faces of MLS. Cincy then wins the Supporters' Shield and even made it to the semi-final of the US Open Cup and MLS Cup. They lost both of those games in heartbreaking fashion, but this team still had time left to get it done. They were still favorites to win some kind of trophy. Then, 2024 happened. Injuries, disappointment, underperformance, and amidst all of it, Lucho was still pretty good. He was an all-star and named to the best 11 team for the 3rd straight year, and was still the team's captain, still the leader, still one of the best players in the league. But like I mentioned earlier, after Cincinnati lost to NYCFC in the first round, Lucho hinted towards him possibly making an exit after this year. And eventually, that would come true. With Lucho now being traded, that three-headed monster from 2022 is completely gone. And I know Cincinnati got Evander from Portland out of all of this. And don't get me wrong, Evander could be even better than Lucho in his prime. I mean, Evander's a beast. That guy had 15 goals, 19 assists, but it won't be Lucho. He's just a one-of-a-kind player. He is a classic Midwestern sports star. Just everything about him. Standing at just 5'3", he was always one of the smallest guys on the field. But along with that, he always played with the most attitude out of anybody on the team, and that includes a team that had Matt Miazga on it. Lucho would trash talk to players, he would passionately get mad at refs, he would taunt and yell at opposing fans after he scored. Lucho disliked Columbus just as much as any Cincinnati fan. I mean, that alone right there endears you to a fan base because it shows, as a player, you care just as much as the fans do about every win, loss, and draw. He always played with emotion and passion, and that's what we always wanted to see out of him. I mean, he was just the exact kind of guy that any fan wants to see play. And really, he was our first franchise player. He appeared over 130 times wearing the captain's armband. He's our all-time leader in goals and assists, along with bringing this club to prominence. He was here for our 4-win season, he was here for our first MLS trophy, and I really wanted him to be there when we finally got over the hump and won a MLS Cup or some kind of tournament trophy. That's the only knock they have on Lucho in this team, is that FC Cincinnati with Lucho could never go all the way in a playoff format. Whether it was the US Open Cup, Leagues Cup, CONCACAF, or MLS Cup, we always fell just short. And I'm sure him and Dallas are going to make some good playoff runs and maybe even win it all, but it won't be in Cincinnati. It won't be with the same fans who threw him up in the air chanting MVP after we clinched the 2023 Supporters Shield. Here's a good example of how much Cincinnati loved Lucho. You know how I mentioned that FC Cincinnati lost the 2023 Open Cup semifinal? Well, that game took place against Inter Miami, fresh off them acquiring Messi. And a bakery in Cincinnati made cookies with Messi's face on them to celebrate that one of the biggest stars in soccer was coming to our city. And while that is kind of a special thing, and something like that might work in a city like LA or New York, but it's not gonna work in the Midwest. It's definitely not gonna work in Cincinnati. We don't care about Messi. We care about Lucho. We care about Alvaro Barrial. We care about our guys. We don't care about Messi. We don't care what he's done. This is Cincinnati. We care about Cincinnati players. So fans got really upset about this. There was fan base-wide outrage over this bakery in Cincinnati making Messi cookies instead of making FC Cincinnati player-themed cookies. And the outrage was so strong, that same bakery would go on to make Lucho cookies just a day later to apologize to the fans and make up for it. And they sold Lucho cookies, and I think more people might have come in and bought the Lucho ones than the Messi ones. I don't know. But I just think that whole story perfectly encapsulates how fiercely loyal the people in Cincinnati are to that club and to Lucho as a player. Now, I've been through a lot of franchise players departing. I've been through Peyton Manning, Paul George, Victor Oladipo, Prince Fielder, Justin Verlander, Harry Kane. Recently, Dylan Thieneman transferring out of Purdue was really hurtful. Looking back on it, maybe I'm the problem. I might be some kind of bad luck charm on all these teams. But anyway, this recent saga with Lucho definitely ranks pretty high on that list. I'm still gonna wish him the best. He believed and stuck with this team when very few people did. He came to Cincinnati after his career kind of bottoming out and not finding much success playing in Mexico. And then he comes to Cincinnati and revives his career, and along with it, he revives our club at the same time. He connected with the fans and cared about winning just as much as we did. Seeing that kind of passion, seeing that kind of fire in a player is a really special thing. Because as fans, we were all there for the lows, we were there for the heartbreak, and so was he. He lived the history of this team just like us. He joined after we were only in MLS for 2 seasons. That's really another thing that made it so special, is that this club, this fan base, everything grew along with Lucho. He was there for all of it. Here we are now. A relationship between a soccer player and a city fractured. One day, though, the wounds are gonna heal, and we will welcome him back with open arms. Hopefully to honor Lucho with a jersey retirement or Ring of Honor ceremony. Because I know that I'm never gonna forget what he did, and I'm always gonna respect and love everything that he's done for this city and for the team. But anyways, I'm Limitless Bulls. I'll see y'all next time.
But you get the mix right, nigga, put it in the blender. Hell yeah, Wingstop. Bitch, I'm selling chicken tenders. It's like the beef with energy and water like timber. It's hurting, looking like dinner. It's like I got the bag, boy or girl. You can pick